Okay, as I mentioned earlier, this is the first of many events that we're going to have like this. Speaking sessions, supper sessions. We might have moose meat next time. We'll see what kind of roadkill I can find. I go out early to try to get the best roadkill, eh? I don't want it to run over too much, okay? I'm going to call on the Director of Urban Services Managers to say a few words. Erica Bowden is the Director of the Urban Services Manager of the Gathering Place. Introduce Tessa.
Yes. Thank you very much, Vern. First of all, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you who have graced us with your presence tonight and have spent your very valuable time with us. We greatly appreciate it. I also would like to say to you, I hope that nobody really has a hard time in case the camera pans to the audience tonight. This is a recorded session, and so there may be times when, Corey, if somebody asks a question, where the camera will be panned to the audience. So just to give you that forewarning as well. Secondly, I would like to thank our very esteemed speakers, guest speakers that we have tonight. We looked and thought who would be the best people and who are the, I don't want to say experts because I really don't like that word, but who's the moccasins on the ground, so to speak, in the issues of pipelines, water, how it affects us, what our roles are. Can we actually stop the big oil companies? What does cleanup look like when we do have a spill? How do we protect our wildlife? How do we protect the fish that swim? Even at this point right now, is it safe for us to eat the wild meat? Is it safe for us to eat the fish? I think that especially those of us who live in the city, we know less than our relatives who live on the land. And we see a lot on social media right now, and we know that there's some fallacies out there, in terms of the pictures, in terms of what is really going there. When we first looked at bringing it tonight, we had really hoped, and we did the best that we could in order to bring someone in through Skype from Standing Rock. But if you are following it at all, you see that media coverage, well, the media coverage is not very good, but in terms of access to people in there, it's very, very limited. So unfortunately, we were unable to bring that. And while that's going south of the medicine line, so to speak, we also have stuff that's happening right in our own province. And so we thought that, whether it's south, whether it's north, we're all connected by our waterways. And our moderator will be talking or introducing our guest speakers, but just to let you know, we have Mr. Whitney here from the North Battleford Husky Oil spill. We have Erin Goodpipe, who is here. She was actually at Standing Rock, and I had read some of the things that she had put on social media and was greatly impressed in the very real way that she had talked about it. And then we have Dana Henderson, who not only went down there, but also she's greatly involved in what's happening around Regina here and Pasqua First Nation, muscopeding around that area, because we do have water concerns that could potentially affect not only our surrounding communities, but also the water right here in the city of Regina. The town of Fort Qu'Appelle, it's actually really scary when you look at the state of where our water is at, because we know that we could live without everything else except for water. So as you can see at the back of, excuse my big butt, but as you see at the back of here, the question is, how long can we as human beings survive without water? And so we had thought, we need to bring this. This is a great first opportunity with our first town hall session in order to really, as citizens of our homelands back home, wherever we're from, You know, I'm from Cowes First Nation, and we have Crooked Lake that's right there. So I know that the fishing has greatly changed in the last 10, 15 years, you know, and I'm not even sure that I trust the fish that we get from around the Crooked Lake area. I guess that's basically, I want to thank Corey Genru, who is, you may recognize him, he's our most famous guy around here. He's one of those bionic boys. and, and actually I saw him float around on a meme. You know how that you take a still and then there's a meme? And I sent it to Corey, I was like, is this you? Yeah, but I didn't write it. So we have been working really hard as a team of senior managers at the File Hills Qu'Appelle Tribal Council in order to see how we can reach out to the audience, how people could watch things after the fact, how we can reach the people who can't leave their home. And Corey has been very instrumental in that fact. I don't think Corey has, you haven't spoken yet, obviously, he hasn't spoken tonight. But just for example, we had our Cree class last night that was in here. We had almost 50 people that came for introductory Cree or conversational Cree. But as of this morning, or Corey, when was the last time you looked at our statistics? And I just want to show you the type of reach that this streaming actually has.
For Cree 4, Gavin, we had 110,000 viewers on our video.
And we'll give them 2 minutes. But anyway, what we really feel is that this is the way of the future. I mean, we're going to have brave souls like you who come, and you're going to be asking those questions, but also afterwards you'll be able to watch yourself. But also, if you can't make one of our town hall sessions, you could go right now. We're going to be downloading it to YouTube, but it is on the File Hills Qu'Appelle Tribal Council Facebook page. So we're really trying to, as Corey and I talk about it, you know, it's the old...
We've reached over 7,000 on the video last night.
Over 7,000 people on the conversational Cree last night. So you can see that we're putting our money where our mouth is, and it's getting out to the people, which is really super exciting. We're really excited to hear how these 3 people can inform and educate the people here tonight, but also at home. It's absolutely amazing. So thank you, Corey. Secondly, I would like to just quickly introduce Tessa to come up here. She is our special events coordinator and is at the kind of helm of what we do. And I would just like for her to discuss a little bit about our T-shirts.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Erica. Welcome, everybody, to this event tonight. We're really excited that you made it out. As part of this event, and what we also decided we were going to do is we've created some T-shirts Erica and I are wearing. They say, "I stand with Standing Rock," and "Water is life." These are kind of some of the catchphrases that are going on right now in terms of this cause. At the back, I did some research this past week and found that there are more than 7 million tons of oil that have been spilt into water around the world. And it's like it's affecting water. You know, do we know about this? I didn't know about it until I started researching, and I was really blown away. And those were just the ones that were documented. There are tons of spills that they have where they don't know how much oil has been spilt into water. That number is unknown. With that said, we've created some shirts for this event, and we're going to continue selling them. They're $20 each. And for every shirt that we sell, we're sending $10 back to the cause in Standing Rock, to their Sacred Stone camp. So it's a fundraiser that we're doing. We encourage and welcome you guys to purchase a T-shirt. And of course, we will continue selling them until we have sold the 50. So that's that.
Thank you. And we talk about individual and collective responsibility, and the way that we've been looking at things here is that, sure, you know, it's fine for us to hold this town hall and to talk about this, but how are we doing things? How are we doing things as an organization? And we have slowly, through the months, up to the point now, and we still have plans up until December. For example, tonight when we have our coffee, you'll notice we don't have the styrofoam cups anymore. We actually have the cups that we have at home, you know, because we want to stop contributing to the plastics. We want to stop contributing to the emissions that happen when you burn styrofoam. And we're trying to buy as much as we can locally grown food, locally butchered meats, wild meats as much as possible. That's why I'm really hoping to hear that wild meat is okay still for us to eat. And we really feel that we can't be doing stuff like this if we ourselves aren't doing things in order to create a better world for our children and grandchildren. So we ask you to look at your own houses and how things could be done differently in there, and how each of us could conserve our water, conserve our usage of plastics, and look at how we each can do things differently. So with that, I really want to say once again, thank you, you're brave souls to come to our first ones. And I'm actually taking mental pictures, and it's going to hold me as I think about, you know, those hard times, because we do have hard times over here. And just for you to continue to pray for us as an organization, bringing these issues to the floor and into our communities and into our homes. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Erica. When I was asked to be the chairman for tonight, I didn't know what I was going to say. So I talked to Siri. And I said, give me something about water. She says, what do you mean, water? But I'm just going to read a little bit about what I got on water, and maybe it'll put it in perspective. In a globalized world, the water concerns of the poor become the concerns of all in a perspective of solidarity. This solidarity is a firm and persevering determination to commit oneself to the common good, to the good of all and of each individual. It presupposes the effort for a more just social order and requires a preferential attention to the situation of the poor. The same duty of solidarity that rests on individuals exists also for nations. Advanced nations have a very heavy obligation to help the developing people. The principle of subsidiarity acknowledges that decisions and management responsibilities pertaining to water should take place at the lowest appropriate level. While the water issue is global in scope, it is at the local level where decisive action can best be taken. The engagement of communities at the grassroots level is key to the success of water programs. We have 3 individuals here who were concerned about water and the issues that impact us and our people. How many people had coffee this morning? Tea? How many people had soup? How many people had a bath? Sucked. The ones that didn't, I'll talk to you after. You see, water is the most important element. We cannot live without it. We can go without food for a few days, but try going without water. The people in the poor countries, they know what it's like to dig in a ditch and try to get a cup full of water. or at least get a handful of water, scoop some water so they can drink. We're so fortunate in our country. We've got a lot of water, but it's got to be clean. It's got to be good water. And what some of the multinational people in our communities are doing, Husky Oil, one of our biggest producers of oil in the country, contaminating our rivers, contaminating the flow of water to the towns, contaminating the flow of water to our First Nations communities. We drink water. We don't drink oil. Sometimes I put it in my car and it goes another few miles. But that's about the only good that oil is doing me. Okay? So our three guests tonight have a very great concern about what happens to our waters. And your presence here is telling me that you have a concern as well. So hopefully we'll hear some things, we'll share some things. Each individual up here is going to be making a presentation, and then we'll try to open the floor for questions at the end. We're scheduled to go till 8:30, and we'll try to stay there within the framework if we can. Our first guest this evening is Dana, D-A-Y-N-A. She corrected me. Henderson is an Anishinaabe Ikwe from Pasqua First Nation. She's a mother of 3 and works as a nurse. She recently traveled to Standing Rock to stand with others as they oppose the pipeline. She'll tell you a little bit more about herself. Will you? Okay. And she'll tell you about some of her experiences with respect to her trip. Dana?
Hello, everybody. Buju, Gashigini Ikwe Tajnakaz Tate Maingan. I am from Pasqua First Nation, a resident of Pasqua First Nation. About 3 weeks ago, I want to say, I traveled to Standing Rock with my father, my sister, my niece, and my youngest son, who's 6 months. I didn't know what to expect going there. I had heard about the issues. I didn't know what I was going to be prepared for. I came back an enlightened woman. I came back very, very concerned. You go in there and you get an overwhelming feeling of, why can't we do something like this here back home? Why can't we be collective at home? Why can't people understand that water is life, water is sacred? And as people, why can't we see how sacred we are? And that this should be a fight, not just for us as Anishinaabe peoples, but for everybody. I don't know what I could offer you except that perspective. I came back with more of a spiritual awakening, that when I was there, the emotions and everything that you felt really made me feel very sacred, and that I was at the right place at the right time, and I knew my role in the universe. And since then, I've been looking at myself and realizing that even though sometimes we all feel like we're small, insignificant beings in this universe, we are, but we're very sacred, meaningful beings, and we have an obligation. And as a woman, we're the carrier of that life. And it's time for us to step up and to see how sacred we actually are. I mean, 80 to 90% of our bodies are made up of water. I don't know how many of you have experienced that thirst for water, but I hope, in the future that we don't have to go through that as a whole. And it's a very scary thought to see that. And just recently, just yesterday actually, one of my friends posted on Facebook the water at Pasqua Lake. So I'm from Pasqua First Nation, so there's Pasqua Lake is down at our valley, and then on the other side is Echo Lake. That our water there was literally like paint. It was just this bright green paint, and as it washed up onto the shore, it stained the beaches. And it was like, how many years ago did they dump raw sewage into it? And then they gave us that talk of, it's going to filter out, and it's going to filter down to, down to Manitoba. And it's like, yeah, but that's really unacceptable. And we haven't actually discussed that. Nobody really said anything. We just said, okay. But being at Standing Rock and looking at that bigger picture, you start to understand I have a responsibility, and I'm going to try my best to do what I can do, even if I'm just one voice, or even if I can give someone the push to be like, hey, let's do this. So that's what I have to say right now. I'm sure I'll have more to say after, so thank you. Miigwech.
Our next speaker is Erin Goodpipe. She's is a Dakota from the Standing Buffalo Dakota Nation, and Soto from the Saugeen First Nation in Manitoba. She is a student in Indigenous education at First Nations University and a researcher with the Indigenous Peoples Health Research Center. So I'll turn you over to Erin.
Palamea Wopila, guys, I'm really honored to have the opportunity to speak, and I'm really honored that you guys would show up, not for myself or even for the event, but for the greater cause of protecting the water and honoring our generations to come. And I want to thank everyone who organized this event and everyone who's perhaps on social media right now tuning in. And Dana and Vern, thank you so much for your words. Yeah, I think I echo everything. I stand in agreement with Dana. Where do I start? So my name is Erin. I'm from Standing Buffalo, Dakota Nation. I am from Neoceti Shakoi Oyate, also known as the Sioux Nation. So, my grandpa, we're from the Calling Lakes area in the valley. I'm not sure. I bet most of you have been to Fort Qu'Appelle area and around there and seen the beautiful lakes there. I remember when I first came home to Standing Buffalo when I was about 11 years old, and I really loved the splendor of the lakes and the water there. And then my grandpa told me that he used to be able to drink out of those waters when he was little. And then I looked at the lake, and it's full of green algae and dead fish. So it's really sad, because that's almost irreversible. What can we do about that now? At least I don't know any science that can fix or turn back time for cleaning that water. So I was really disappointed by that, and I didn't really see the connection to water until my grandfather started to teach me these things. So when Standing Rock issue started to get bigger and bigger, I really felt this call to nationhood and this call to my people, especially because they're of the Sioux Nation as well, and actually some of my people originate from that area. So I felt this real just on fire for water, I guess, and so I went down there with my friend Dustin Brass and also my good friend Andrew Starblanket. So we went down there, and actually we had arrived on the day. I guess I'll tell you the story, and I'll try not to be too long about it, but we went down there, and we arrived at the camp, Sacred Stones Camp it's called, and they have all these beautiful flags hanging up from over 200 different Indigenous nations, and I had never even learned that there is that many Indigenous languages growing up. That's crazy, isn't it? So I get there, and I'm starting to meet all these people, and they're just such a vibe of nationhood and unity and community, and I'm like, man, this is really what the Indigenous spirit is all about. It's this igniting of kinship, right, for the greater cause. So I started to meet lots of people there, and then all of a sudden, they have guys on horses all over jumping around and stuff. It just feels like old times. But anyways, then someone started whooping, hollering, and they're like, hey, we have pipeline workers there. We need to all go. And so everyone's jumping in their trucks, and they're jumping on their horses, and they're running, they're walking to this site. And so we jump in our vehicle, we get there, and people are telling us to walk back, and we're walking up this hill. And I think this is the pipeline construction area. But later I learned that it wasn't. I guess later the elders told us that this was the site of sacred burial sites, I guess you could say, and just sacred sites to my people. So you can imagine that it was really quite a horrific thing for me to stand on the soil of perhaps my ancestors and to see it ravaged and destroyed. And I have to wonder if we did that here in Regina, if we destroyed graves, would they have the same reaction? And how is that allowed? So anyways, this is happening, back to the story, and people are walking back. Some of them have, their eyes are, they're trying to wash out their eyes because some of them got pepper sprayed. Some of them got bit by dogs and stuff, and as I recall, the pipeline workers had dogs, and they started to let them out on the people, and they were trying to push back because they were destroying all these sites. And then actually what had happened was just really interesting. It's like unbelievable even when I recount this story, but the dogs, they started to fight because I guess the ralliers, they let out their own dogs, and they started to fight, and then they turned against the pipeline workers. So it was interesting. Really, really interesting. And I guess even the police, I seen them off to the side, and I guess the police, they didn't want too much involvement because I guess what they were saying was the police even knew that this is really messed up for them to be doing, right? This isn't even designated pipeline area. So in essence, this is a hate crime against our people, an attack on our culture, right? So anyways, we later learned that the governor, I'm not sure what governor he is, but he had endorsed this, and he gave the go-ahead for these pipeline workers to go early in the morning and try to destroy as many of these sacred sites as they could. But what's interesting is actually later, I guess they learned that his son passed away in a hunting accident. So it's really interesting to see all these very intense happenings, and just this really spiritual effect, because there's this prophecy. They're talking about all these prophecies. The Lakota prophecy was that a black snake would come through the ground and it would bring death and destruction. So they're trying to say that this is the prophecy now. And just many other prophecies were fulfilled. I watched nations arrive at night at the exact same time. I don't remember the traditional name, but the Aztec people, as we know them, they arrived, and so did the Coast Salish, the northernmost people that were there at the time, and they met at the same time. They arrived at the same time, and then they got up on the microphone and they said, you know, we have a prophecy that the North and South would meet at the same time and they would bring peace. And so everyone's whooping and hollering, and you really feel this connection just to everybody, and it's really true, you know, mini Wachoni, water is life, and yeah, you know, Dana said it really nice, 80% of our bodies are water. So in essence, we're not just fighting for these elements that are apart from ourselves, because we need to recognize that we have a different worldview from other non-Indigenous people, and that's really what the fight is about, is how do we help to educate each other on our worldviews. So anyways, like I was saying, I'm really fighting for myself because my body is 80% of water. So it's really important to recognize, like really, really important, not just in our head, but in our hearts, right? And you know, water sustains everything, everything. I met lots of people who talked about their traditional foods and talked about how the poison and the pollution in the water is actually affecting all their traditional foods, and their traditional foods are becoming extinct. Like the traditional corn, the traditional rices, there are no more. And actually, if you were to look at the stuff that we buy from the grocery stores, there's little nutrients in it, even the vegetables. So we need to know that this is affecting our food, even the wildlife, for example. I mean, we all want to go back to hunting. We all want to go back to self-sustenance and providing for ourselves that way. But we can't even do that because the wildlife is now suffering from drinking these polluted waters. Echo Lake and Pasqua Lake, they're right by my reserve, and there's such high mercury levels in them that you really shouldn't drink from it. And so I have to wonder, because I mean, the deer and the elk and the moose, what do they have to drink? And even our bodies now are so colonized from the type of water that we have, because we can't even drink pure water from glaciers anymore, because we can't handle all the different materials that are in the water. So we can't even drink what's natural for us anymore. And I have to wonder, you know, like, Why is oil, why don't people see that? Why don't people see the importance of that? I'm in Indigenous education at the First Nations University, and one thing we grapple over is, what does Indigenous mean? Because it's got all these different definitions, right? And sometimes we have traditionalists go and tell us that, it's following the ceremonies, it's following the protocols, it's going back to that. And then you have other people saying, well, no, it's staying to our values and stuff. And, when you look up the word Indigenous, it actually means people who originate from the land. And so with that knowledge, that would mean that every human being is from the land. And so it's really a call back to our Indigenousness, not just for people who have blood quantum of Indian in them, but all humankind they all came from an Indigenous ancestry at some point, and along the way colonialism sort of forced us from our values and stuff. So it really is a battle of worldview, because they'll try and argue to you from an economic standpoint, hey, you guys all use oil, you need oil. We probably all drove here, didn't we? We probably took buses here. We all do use oil, and they'll make you feel bad for that. But we need to go back to our communities, and we need to demand that we have these types of settings, these discussions. There are ways, scientific ways around using oil. And we need to demand that from our leadership. We need to start looking into other funds and resources to develop these technologies on our reserves. These things can happen. We can still have our traditional values and innovation modernism. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to go live on teepees. It means we can have clean energy and clean water and still stay true to our Indigenous spirit. And that's really tough to grapple over, though, because I know we don't want to get rid of our cars at times. We don't want to go and try things that are new. We don't want to step outside of our comfort zones. But do you really want to profit from the suffering of your kids, is what I would say. But anyways, I'm really nobody in this, because I know there's there's tons of elders here that have tons of knowledge about the water and stuff and the worldviews and how we can go back to our Indigenous knowledges, because we really do have advanced Indigenous knowledges. I don't know a lot of scientists who can go and find water like my grandpa could, just out of like the hills and a couple sticks. Crazy. And these pipelines, they not only destroy the water, but they destroy the natural ecosystem. For example, I know under the lakes underneath, there's a lake underneath the lake. It's called an aquifer, and it's basically a natural filter. So when these pipelines burst and break, or when they're drilling through them, they destroy those as well. And so we really need to start educating ourselves on what's really happening, and we really need to band together and fight back, because we really can. I guess it is the people who have the say. But yeah, Palamea Wopila, I just want to say thank you for at least letting me have a little bit of say. And I look forward to seeing what our community has to offer in regards to traditionalism and innovation. And instead of dividing and conquering and coming together now, because that's really what I see Standing Rock as, is it's igniting our kinship back together. And we live in a very powerful age. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Erin. Erin talked a little bit about the Qu'Appelle Valley. I spent a lot of my life in the Qu'Appelle Valley. I started school there in 1947. And I went to grade 1 to grade 12 at the Qu'Appelle Indian Residential School. But when I started school, we used to be able to swim across the lake, eh? And now we can walk across. Well, not quite, but it is quite polluted. And, we used to be able to drink that water at one point, like she said, with her ancestors as well, And we could fish there, and we had good fishing. My grandfather used to come down just about every Sunday to visit us. And he'd be out on our pier out there and just casting his little green line, eh? Some of the people might remember when you had a heavy spoon on the end of your line and weights, and you had to spin it around and throw it out, and then you pulled it back in as you're reeling it in, eh? But that's the way my grandfather fished, and we did catch quite a bit of good eating fish at the time. But now you have to be sitting right at the edge of the water. When they come up, you know they're fresh. You got to get them right away, okay? Don't let them sit there too long. We have a special guest as well who comes to us from the Treaty 6 area and knows a little bit about what's been happening with the Husky oil that spilled into the Saskatchewan rivers, eh? And what may be happening to some of the towns and our Indian communities up in those areas. Please welcome Sheldon Watine.
Thanks, I want to begin by thanking you for inviting me to be here to speak. It's a real pleasure for me to be down in Treaty 4 territory. I'm from Red Pheasant, which is south of North Battleford. I'm a Cree from that way on my dad's side, and then my mom's side up from Thunderchild on Sangre and Thunderchild side. And I grew up primarily around Battleford and then in Saskatoon. And I'm an educator by trade, a teacher, and I was a principal for a while out in Poundmaker of a K-12 school also. And I'd served some time as chief of Red Pheasant, and then now I've been in a role working with all of our communities across the province with the First Nations Natural Resource Center of Excellence with the FSIN. And, you know, not unlike everybody else, I have a great concern for water and access to water for our people and clean water. And some of you may remember a number of years ago when I was chief, actually I know just outside of Regina here too, there was some major issues with Enbridge and the Alberta Clipper pipeline that was coming through Treaty 6 and Treaty 4. And we'll be and move into that issue coming forward again very shortly. And at that time, I haven't made it down to Standing Rock as of yet, but I understand the experience and the sentiment and that feeling that overcomes you when you feel like you're in the right place and you're there on behalf of not only your family, but your ancestors that have passed on. And I think very strongly about our inherent rights, you know, before treaty and you know, how we were as Indian people. And although we enjoy certain rights, you know, in Canada or what have you, whether it be inherent or treaty or constitutional rights, those come with some very important responsibilities. And I think that as Indian people, when we look at those that have gone on, that have sacrificed on our behalf, those animals, those fish, those berries, the medicines, they're all spiritual that rely on us. They rely on us to make sure that they're going to be here for the future. And I think oftentimes of, you know, when animals and they're reacting to something like a spill or something adverse that's affecting their life that they can't help, that they have to live with it, and how much that they hurt and suffer, and that we've done that damage to them. And I think that's something that we all have to really look inside and ensure that as Indian people, as spiritual people, that we're doing our best, that we're putting our best effort into making sure that those medicines, that those animals, you know, and other things that rely on us, that we're doing our best to help them. And I think about that very often because, you know, in my position, it's a very delicate balance between some of the issues that Aaron and Dana talked about around being able to provide for our families and how we are involved or interact with industry or those types of developments, and being able to balance that with ensuring that the development is sustainable, and our inherent in treaty rights, if you will, we're able to practice those as we move on. And water itself is is the most important, as the ladies have mentioned, to us as human beings, but also within our ceremonies. When we're sweating or what have you, we rely on that water as part of our culture. And whether it's berries, all of these things play in, and they're all affected. And I've been working alongside another a fella from up around North Battleford also on the Husky oil spill. And we were basically put forward as representatives of those nations along the river. And there's up to 22 bands that are impacted from that spill. And it's been frustrating much of the time because of the lack of information and realistically the lack of respect that's been conveyed to our people and our elders and how things are moving forward, that it's always structures or legislation or regulations that have been applied to our inherent or treaty rights that really come first, as opposed to the way we do things as Indian people. And that's been a really frustrating issue. Once I think most of us understand the issue that, when we signed treaty back in the 1870s, that, a year or two later in the same year as us, the Indian Act came into effect without our people really fully understanding what those impacts are going to be. I come from an area of the largest mass hanging in the history of Canada, in Battleford. 8 of our men, our warriors, were hung in that area. I just actually visited the gravesite the other day. So it's important for levels of government, for industry to understand that when we're engaging in conversation, we don't think of that as way back when. That's today, because we're still living with a lot of those impacts. And that transfers over to how we interact with government, and it's oftentimes with each other. And I think that looking forward, there's a lot of developments that are proposed that are going to have a great impact on our water and our aquifers, whether it be uranium, potash, oil and gas. It's occurring right across our province and our treaty areas, whether it's fracking in the south to uranium in the north. And I always come back to the issue of being able to practice our cultural ways. And those are the things that we're taught. Women, when they carry us as men and as babies, we live in their water. It's theirs. It's not ours to say what should or shouldn't be done, because that's where we come from as men. And I do get emotional at times over it, because we don't know how it's going to affect our kids, and we're trying to do our best with things that we're taught. I guess as youth and some of us that we're not elders and we're not youth anymore, but we're trying to ensure that we're carrying on or carrying a message that the younger people can bring forward also, and be as or more vigilant. So I guess I'll leave things there for now, and I just want to say how happy I am to be here and being able to participate today. I meet people from many different walks of life in my daily job, whether it be leadership or whether that be government leaders, elders, and so forth. And I really take the comment that led off the conversation today, that it's the local level that needs to drive the issues, that it's the impoverished communities and those that really feel the full effects. And along our waterways, especially the rivers, one of the leaders in one of our conversations, as the river flows from the mountains and through the cities and onto the ocean, much of the time it's turned into a slop pail. And you can't fish on the rivers anymore. And I was up in James Smith yesterday, north of Melfort there, around PA. And they have land on both shores of the river. And it's a very serious issue because all of us hunt. We have, with red pheasant, we have land along the river. We hunt there every spring or every fall. And now, I can't take moose home to my mom, next month or next couple months. So that has some real serious impacts. Fishing, we've kind of, I can only imagine last generation, the fishing was the thing that hurt, that hurt. Now it's moose, elk, deer, whatever the case may be. Because the effects of the spill, it's gone right into the shores. I've walked the shores and, getting as high as this table, pitch black, just pure black on the vegetation in the rocks, in the river. And how do you fix that? How do you can clean the rocks and cut the trees but in the river, you go to James Smith, the river just looks dead. It's just very, very little wildlife. You don't see geese on the water or nothing like that. And we probably won't understand the full cumulative impacts for years yet to come. So it's a very serious discussion. And, as I mentioned, that as Indian people, and Aaron explaining the definition of indigenous, that we originate from these lands, and circling back to the notion that, we were put here for a reason. And, stories that I've been told is, even with our languages, the first person was here, there was one that was to connect with the Creator. That was the reason. Now other things play in, but at the end of the day, those spirits that have gone on, those medicines, those animals, they rely on us to make sure. They do their job for us to feed us. Now they can't even do that. That hurts them, eh? So I think about, those things, and we have to be their voice, that water. We have to be their voice moving forward. And sometimes conversations aren't positive, but they can't be because we have generations to worry about. Hopefully there can be some solutions when we're looking at sustainable development or renewable energy. And I take that seriously because that's part of my job for all of our bands and as being a part of the Federation, is looking at opportunities and options for renewable energy, sustainable development that we can all live and be okay with. Right now we aren't there yet. We're having oil spills. And where I come from in red pheasant, and really in relation to, when we did the Enbridge protests and the blockade back in 2008, one of the issues was, the number of pipelines that do run under rivers in Saskatchewan. And, I think there's upwards of about 130, 135. And these pipelines that Enbridge owns are into Alberta, in Hardisty. And, there's just over a handful of pipelines that run under the Battle River. And I agree too. The devastating impacts that we felt on this Husky oil spill. It's a 16-inch pipe across, so, a foot and a half. Those pipelines that Enbridge runs are 36 inches, so 3 times the size. And, you get 6 or 7 of them, and 1 or 2 breach. And the Battle River isn't very big. It's certainly not near the size of the North Saskatchewan. When we're talking about, black snakes and you look at it as a living thing, there's some real potential that Battle River would be pure oil coming back and feeding back into the North Saskatchewan, and we're back at square one again, but with 3 times or the impact. So those are things that, you know, we really need to all be concerned about. It's important that things are voiced, and it really is individuals like myself that need to carry the message forward, and that's why I'm so grateful to be here, to be able to hear from you and you know, answer things the best that I can. But really of utmost importance that I'm conveying your message when I'm meeting with communities or levels of government or industry, because we're there as Indian people cleaning up those shores. We're not in the high rise in Calgary making the decision. It's our men and women that are wiping rocks with rags. And there's got to be a better way at doing things. So, you know, it provides some good opportunity for employment, but we'd certainly like to see our people have better access to other opportunities. So I'll leave my comments for there, and I'll certainly, you know, do my best as we move through to answer any questions and certainly add. And again, I'm very grateful to be here in Treaty 4 and, you know, sharing some of our story from up there with you folks tonight. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Sheldon. Am I hooked up? Can you hear me okay? Thank you very much again, then, Sheldon. You know, you mentioned something that I always think about when I hear the elders talk. The elders always say, we signed the treaties, but the Creator put us here for a reason. Creator put us here to protect Mother Earth. And that is our role. And that's what the elders continue to tell us again and again and again. Protect Mother Earth. And we look at what's happening with the oil spills. Pollution. Erica mentioned, you know, we're going from styrofoam to washable cups. And, you know, we're just filling up our garbage cans with styrofoam. And that's got to change, you know. But what do we clean those cups with? Water. So we need that water again, eh? My own band, Little Black Bear Band, one of the things we're looking at is wind power. We have one of the highest spots in the land from our reserve to Cypress Hills. We're the highest spot in the land. So that's where they're thinking about putting in some wind power blades, eh? I don't know why these people at around Whitewood are complaining so much, you know, about the wind power. They say it's disturbing them. They can't sleep at night. And it's just a little wee hum, you know. You can hardly hear it. You got to have excellent ears. But they continue to knock it down, and they don't want it, you know. Yet it's a renewable resource that we need. So at least my band are thinking about doing something in that area. I'm going to open the floor for questions. Did you want to say anything else? D-A-Y-N-A? Okay. Not right now? Okay. If anybody's got any questions, we'll open the floor up for questions. There's a mic on the floor. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. You're going to be on camera. You're streaming live. over the FHQ network. And any comments just back to the to any of our speakers? Bonjour.
My Indian name is Blue Eagle. I've been very active up here in my mind. Getting old, but not old. My daughter took me down. It was very amazing when you see me. Try and go over there. You put your mind to it and go, and you can be overwhelmed. Not about this I am. I seen warriors down there, men more. I seen women more. I go to local powwows around here. Don't even get a hello. When we went over there, how are you doing? My daughter and her friend Daphne, they got a hold of their teepee, not their teepee, their little tent. They didn't even get a chance to unfold it. The men were there. They put it up. A couple of old elders called me over. Where are you from? I'm from Canada. Canada sucks. You know, it's really sad. It pisses me right off. I told my girl, let's go over to Ralph Goodale's place. It's going on to 3 o'clock. I arrived there, and I seen one man standing there with a flag. Personal friend of mine. Come and join me. I would like to, but I got something to get rid of here. I had to go for radiation. So I chose my life as more valuable than any protest. And after I told him, I apologized to him. You're right. You're a good man, he said. I look up to you. You're probably one of the best elders around our area there. I don't drink, I don't smoke up. The only thing I smoke up is that Samon. That's my only thing that I use. But some of that tobacco that I get, I put in my pipe. I don't play games with the Indians. But I have to put my sweatlots to rest for a while because a sick man can't heal the sick. So I'm having a vacation. I want to get my daughter and ask her to go down there again before it gets too cold. Where I feel like I'm an Indian man. Where people respect elders. Gone in Casey, elders. My grandchild, I think he went out. He was the youngest April warrior there. Daphne went and got some water and she found a headband there. No, Dana took that headband and put it on that little baby's head. She was walking around. Old Kokum, white woman. Is the youngest protector here, they said. Yes, there was white people there. I talked to a couple of old white men. We wouldn't be here if it was a protest, they said. But these people are protecting. That's a different story. I'm bringing my family, he said. And all my boys and their children, their children's children. So it makes a difference, you know. And people out here, come on, protest with me. Oh, my God. Me and my baby she was always there. Because I believe in that treaty, what Mr. Belgar said. Those old men never had a grade 12 education, but they learned. And that treaty, they said for it. As long as the sun shines and the rivers flow. Well, that's happening, but there's oil. And God damn it, it's time for everybody. The Kokums and get mad because we all have family. And there's a saying, a proverb, it comes from out west there. When all the fish are dead, when the water's all poisoned, the last tree is standing, what are you going to eat? Are you going to eat trees? You can't eat trees. You can drink water, but you can't drink oil. So it's Junia. Even me, I get kind of buggy about that Junia when I go to the casino, but they always knock the hell out of me. So I stay away. It's called elder abuse. So hey guys, I get your pension. Don't go there tomorrow because they rob elders. But I'm serious about down south. Over 200 tribes. And they used to be warring against each other. They had a ceremony. And they all come together. Hey brother, we're brothers now. It's so simple and I can still feel that right here. That's why I want my baby to take me down there. I'm 71 years old. And even on my own goddamn reserve, I'm not accepted. I'm the boogeyman. Medicine man. Doing bad medicine. I got no time for bad medicine. I speak about life like that water. Away Gamadisi went to trying to live. Me away in this shit. To be trying to be friendly with everybody. That's what God put us down here, the Creator. He put the woman in the teaching to be keepers of the water. Anyway, we do sweats. My wife would cook up medicine. The men are out there cutting wood with a power saw. We have it easy. It's easy to be traditional. But you know what? Ain't enough. I'm wearing here. I dress nice. But I feel good. I got a lot of damn. I feel good about myself. So I dress clean. But you know, they speak about being holiness, colonial. And the majority of people are there. You know, it's all right to pray to God in that Bible. But God wants you to protect that word. He's somebody too wants us to protect that word. The mission, they want us to protect that water. My granddaughter is still on here. I'm going to use him as an example. What is he going to use for water? What's his kid's going to use for water? That's our treaty. It's never ending. And boy, I'm telling you, I should go to Treaty 4. And I say it like it is. People don't like it. They were all fighting to put their pockets up there to make 4. One guy, they kept pushing him back. Well, we got for it. And I went, because they were given probably $1,000 apiece. That same guy come and sweat with us. It's a magas, huh? I prayed for him. We both saw on this. I was talking my language and he understood. Everybody wants that glorification here, but they don't put the work to get there. It's like that young man there. He put in lots of work. University, now he is where he is. At the Cheyenne, they take him because he can grab that pen and start writing. And us, we can make a goddamn big noise if there's enough of us. I'm promoting Standing Rock on this thing here, technology. I've asked Canada, the young people on the Facebook, join me. Your voice counts down there. It's going to the President of the United States, President Obama. On his way out, his term is up in November. He got up and he spoke in the town hall. There was black people there was all different immigrants there. And he looked around, he said, I don't see any First Nation people here. I don't see any American Indians here. And that's funny because they own all this land. Even me as president, I'm an immigrant here. But what have we done for them the last 1,000 years? We've torn them apart. We've thrown them in residential schools. We've raped them. We've beat them. And you know, the elders over there talk about forgive them. They don't go and say, go out and scalp a white man. We talk about love. See, there's two stories to everything that's occurring. There's a good side, and there's a bad side. It's easier to be bad, to ignore it. Well, don't ignore this water. I ask you in a good way from here. Help me use this thing here, this technology. Get on that thing. Tune into Standing Rock, Baxter. And tell your friends to promote it. It's easy. It takes about 5 minutes to write a little paragraph there. Yes, I agree with you, people in Standing Rock. I'm doing that. I'm 71 years old. I got that all cataloged in here. I'm going to get my baby to get that little extension to put it there, and I'm going to put it on her 60-inch TV there. And we'll see all that stuff. Maybe in the time to come, we'll be able to hook into that TV screen there. You'll see what I'm talking about. When you see all those tents and teepees and all different races there. The black man is there. We're still waiting for the yellow man. Yellow man drinks water too. And what I'm speaking about, I speak about the 7th generation. It's starting down south there. They are who they are, Sioux people. And I'm proud my baby's part Sioux. But I tease her. You got the Ojibwe side? I said, then the Sioux side. What the hell? So, you know, you guys, they're small. We're small here. There's just about equal. Water carriers, keepers of the water, and keepers of the fire. There's good balance here. And tell your friends, what are you doing? The next meeting, bring them. Tell them there's lots of soup there in bannock. I bet you a lot of them haven't even eaten bannock. I went straight to the bannock because my woman don't know how to cook bannock. And they brought me a bowl of soup, but I just finished eating there over at the cancer lunch. I said, no, I just want to eat bannock. So I had a good fill of bannock. So have a good night, you guys, and bring your friends next time.
Hey, hey, hey.
And don't forget that message to use these. Thank you.
Can you speak in the mic, please? You won't talk so long then.
We have a potash mine, Muskegon First Nation, and they're going to be using water when they get it up and running someday. But I want to talk about some of the problems we're having with our nation. And once these corporations come to your lands and they start negotiating deals, you have to be careful what kind of deals you make with them. Because now we're up against a corporation, not a chief and council. When we have meetings in town, they're just informational meetings. That's all they give us, our chief. And he's been in there for 10 years now. Every time we have an elections, and Canto gives him a bunch of money he's got shell accounts here and there. Money goes into there. Nobody can go up against him because he can afford to pay $200 a vote, $1,000 for a head of a family. So when these corporations come onto your lands, you got to be careful how you deal with them. The band has to have some control in there of this corporation, and that's the message I'm trying to bring to. I confronted our chief in Saskatchewan Hotel. He was there with that Encanto, somebody from the FSIN, at Bobby Cameron, and some other, the media was there. I confronted him about that. I said, how can you be chief and run the company that's supposed to belong to us people, Muskogee Resources Limited? He said it belongs to us, but whenever it comes to money, see, I had a lawyer I had Tony Merchant look at those papers that we got when we signed that referendum. When it comes to it, says Muskogee First Nation, there's a slash, then Muskogee Resources. That slash cuts off the money and goes straight into Muskogee Resources. A lot of people don't realize that. But we've been trying to confront this chief for many, many years now. And because of the corporation, we're having all kinds of problems. People are suffering back home because of this. So I'm just trying to tell people, be careful when you make deals. Make sure that you're involved right from the beginning right to the end. Don't let your chief pull off create different companies and arms, because once you do that, your people are going to get nothing, and your land will be destroyed. Thank you.
Thanks very much. No, I really appreciate what you're saying. I know the FHQ Tribal Council are in the process of protecting lands just a little southeast of Regina. They're planning on building a potash mine in that area. And potash mines use millions of gallons of water a day. And where are they getting that water from? They're planning to build a pipeline to Qu'Appelle Lake and pipe the water in from there to their potash mine. 2-3 years, there'll be no water in the Qu'Appelle Valley. And that's what the chiefs are trying to protect right now at FHQ Tribal Council. Go ahead, Laura.
Good evening, everybody. Talking about the Muskogee First Potash. Being a member from Muskogee, I've been opposed since they signed the joint venture agreement back in 2009. Now, when this happened, I wasn't, not too many people were aware as to the testing in the reserve and seismic and so forth. Not too many people were aware of the process. So it took lots of time-consuming research and learning how these potash mines are put together. But seeing my reserve doing this with the government, provincial government, by way of the Federation and AFN, they had a pretty solid partnership that we couldn't contend with, especially as an individual, and a woman at that, being concerned for water treaty rights. Now, these treaty rights is what I've been defending from, like I said, when the agreement was signed. Now, the reason I was so opposed is because once a band turns corporation, you're no longer treaty. You lose, you're signing off your status. This is something that a lot of people didn't like me talking about. And today, especially in regard to the politics, especially again in Muskogee, they just passed a referendum here to implement the First Nations Election Act for a 4-year term, and they got it. So I never voted. I stepped back from that because my people It's the political action in our treaty territories that's killing us. It's the genocide. And they are taking the hands of our leaders at the AFN level, federation level, and giving them the knives to cut our throats. So that's the way I've saw us being set up. So I started crying around some more and getting more people involved in saying, hey, they're digging holes in my treaty territory. Where it really hit home was when they went in my rain dance lands, my grandfather's rain dance lands. I'm a rain dancer. I've committed my life to that legacy of my old people. They're all gone now. And today, we pray that that drum come home one day. And I'm not going to stop till that drum comes home so that I can dance again for my people. But the people you're talking about today in the South, brothers and sisters, they are. They brought me to Phoenix in March. I went to Apache territory and I got to visit the Gila River Nation, Apache tribe. They hosted us there. We stayed with them and camped with them, and we talked about the process that's happening there today. Now, when I came home after March, I wrote a notification to Treaty 4. Hey, we have to activate, wake up. Look what's happening. We're losing people. Now, you're right, they're not stopping, which is why a lot of our people in the South have made the decision to stand up because nobody else is going to stand up for us. So, when we came home, seeing what we're at here, you have, like I said, you have all your treaty territory signed off wanting resource revenue sharing. At the cost of what? A 10-year get-rich scheme? After you're spent, then what? You can't even buy yourself a bottle of the so-called treated water that's after. You look at most cities in our province, their water treatment facilities are treating their own pee. Look at what they're doing to our lakes. They're so overflowing. They're dumping in our lakes and streams. It's okay with our chiefs because they get compensated for it. The people suffer. I'm really astonished at the lack of leadership here, especially in regard to water, which is our life source. Being a mother and a grandmother, I don't have the benefit and privilege of going right down to Standing Rock. Mind you, I have every intention to do so before the snows fly, because those are my sisters and brothers, and they've been calling for that support. And the only way I give the support is through sharing through my Facebook and constant prayer. And I'm going to ask everybody here, whenever you have a drink of water, say thank you and pray with that water, because you don't know what's in it. So today I'm really honored to be here because, like I said, we all have the same concern, especially in regard to safe water and a future. I've delved myself in Facebook and got a lot of information in regard to what's happening to in our food industry. water, our animals. Today, Canada is a big production for GMOs. And today, that's what's killing our people by means of diabetes. GMOs breaks down the immune system. When we eat that, we can no longer get better. We make ourselves sick. We're breaking down our own immune systems. So today I'm gonna just wanna ask everybody that, yes, next meeting, bring your families, bring your voices, bring their concerns, bring their prayer, because that's what this is all about. Sacred Stone Camp, at the meeting down on the Gila River Nation, we said that we were gonna stand like our ancestors, the rocks, the skies, where we can see everything. Stand like the rocks and be strong in who we are as people. And taking that healing and that life from water. That's what we need to do. With all the damage that our people have done, we need a great healing. And today, from October 8th to 11th, the world is going to be praying and fasting for those who refuse to by choice. But we're praying that they can get some knowledge by the stance we're taking. At least have some empathy. We cry. Water is life. Without water, there is no life. I was welcome to the John Trudell tribute we had down there. And with the people that came together from tribes from all over, the concern, especially what Indian Affairs and our local governments are forcing us to do, you know. Divide and conquer is what they're doing to our communities in Treaty 4, Treaty 6, and Saskatchewan as a whole. Now I'm concerned for treaty status because the government has this way of psyching us out. Go get your education. You go to the cities, you lose your walk away from your treaty status. You become Aboriginal when you're going to school. You lose that from the reserve when you're off the reserve. So today, a lot of my members who live off the reserve, they say, what's happening with all of this? And I'm saying, we're going ahead. We ain't letting nobody hold us back anymore. We're organizing in a bigger way. So yeah, we're calling them home. You come home, claim your land. Claim that treaty status. Because if you don't come home and defend it, there's those of us few in numbers who are falling every day. We're going to jail for speaking out against chiefs and councils. I can't even go and speak in my own band office without them calling the police. I go there, ask for accountability, clarity, help. Get out of here. I'm treated like that. Why? Because we're bringing these things to the table. We can't even use media to come to Muskogee. Soon as media phones the band office, oh, you talk to that woman, we're gonna sue you. Same with the FSIN and AFN. They're muzzled, just like our justice minister is today. This is why they aren't with us. They aren't doing things for us, which is why a lot of people in the South are saying, it's our turn now. You guys failed us in every way, shape, and form. You killed us by numbers. I'm Sodo. We're the fastest diminishing tribe in all of Canada. Fastest. Now the treaty numbers who are Aboriginal, I'm calling you home. Learn to love your family, your land, your way of life. Because when you stand over there, you forget who you are. You forget who we are.
Can you talk about water issues, please, if you can?
But that's just it. The waters connect us, and that's all I asked. Respect that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any comments? Yeah, some comments back from the panel? Thank you.
I just wanted to say miigwech for your speech there. One of the things that I learned from going to Standing Rock was that we stand as ourselves. You know, we can't fall under our bands or say we represent our areas. That's just, we are who we are. And one thing we learned too is that we're people. This is the human race. And I think that's one of the things, like you spoke, is there's so many divisions. And within our people, there's so much fear that we don't want change, or we try change, but we get pushed out. And so what I like to do is just encourage everybody to not have that fear, to stand for yourself and your family and your children and look at what can I provide for them down the road. Because as we keep saying, water is life, water is sacred. And I think when it starts with us inside, and that in itself is a long process, right? Once we get enlightened and awaken our own spirits, we can move forward. And that's a big journey, but there's people like yourself, there's people like my dad who we're willing to stand together, and that's one thing that we got to start doing. It doesn't matter where we come from, doesn't matter our reserves, our tribe, our territories. We got to be people first and realize we all bleed the same. And honestly, we all need water too, the same.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no us.
Yeah.
So that's all I want to share, and I really respect what you had to say because it shows us, and it's going to show our viewers where we're coming from and where we need to go. But again, it starts with us, the grassroots. And I'm nobody. I'm just a woman who wants to look for my children. And there's a lot of us out there, so I just say, like, let's unite. It doesn't matter. Yep. That dependency is one of the biggest things that hold our people back. It's huge. And, you know, that's where that fear comes in. We don't want to say anything. You know, when we say something, then we're labeled as something else. And in our heads and in our minds, we got to know we have support of each other. We just got to find those people. And we just got to just take charge. Because this is your life you're fighting for. So keep doing that good fight. And I encourage everyone else, step up. I wasn't enlightened until I went to Standing Rock, which is really shameful. Because I should have been fighting and being aware all along. And it took to go down south to awaken. And then you come back home and then you see the Husky oil spill. And you're like, why aren't we doing anything? And I go and I read stuff and it's like 250,000 liters spilt. And our people stand back. And instead we all want to rush. Let's go to Standing Rock. No. We had Emil Bell who did his hunger strike. Why can't we go there? You know, we have to start our own thing here. We can't depend on our people from the South. And like the South, we could follow what they do. It's peaceful. We're protectors. We're not protesters, we're protectors, and go back to our roles. And I think that's the message I'm trying to give across to our viewers and to everyone here, is that we're so much more than we give ourselves credit, and we can do so much more as a people, as Anishinaabe peoples, but also as the non-Anishinaabe peoples, to unite. And just put that aside, because corporations, governments, they're always going to try to stop us. But when you go in numbers, Standing Rock took since, I think it was April. It started with a little bit of people. Now they're up to like 7,000. You know, and they're camping out for the winter. They're building, they have a school there for the families that are there. They have all these things that they're building to stay for the long haul. And we just need to get that mentality going here to make some positive change, because this is happening all over the world. You know, we're just a small part of it here. And doing this forum, I hope we can affect people in a good way.
Thanks, Dana. Right on.
Yeah.
Because these other organizations that say they do, they don't talk up for us. You got to be a chief to talk in your meetings. So it's not right. We got to stand up for ourselves and let them know that we're here. We want to be counted. We have issues that happen in the urban areas, like housing, education, affordable housing, the slums that they make millions of dollars off our people with. A lot of things we have to do as grassroots people. But I believe everything that, like, the life of water, and you can't live without it. It's the ultimate thing. So we all got to band together somehow. It might start off with a slow meeting like this, small meeting, but it'll grow and grow and grow. As we keep, like I'll tell my friends, I'll tell my friends, please won't have the space packed in here. Because these issues affect all of us.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, I just wanted to shout out to the elders, for stepping up and saying what you have to say, because I would say I'm the youngest one here in my early 20s, and we really need that. Like, we really need our people to be our own people and be in our pride and be in our teachings and those learnings. And, I've heard each and every one of you speak about leadership, and it's about us keeping them accountable, because back in the day, traditionally, we elected our leaders through consensus. We held them accountable, and we need to keep doing that. And I know the landscape is different, and I don't know, and this is to our viewers or whoever's listening, and I don't know the answer, but maybe, there needs to be policies in place to create transparency, whether it's looking at the chief's bank accounts, or, policies around having bigger councils to manage that. Maybe there should be an elders council. I don't know what there is on each and every reserve, but there needs to be these systems in places, and we need to demand these things. We need to do that. And we're talking about these chiefs and these councils, our leadership that are selling out our people. Well, we need to keep them accountable, and we need to demand that there's policy. We need to demand meetings. We need to demand if people and these companies are coming onto reserves and stuff and trying to force their way on there, well, no, we need to say you cannot do that. We need to do that. Because my grandpa taught me that, nowadays they teach it as the triangle system of leadership. Leader is on top. But he said back in the day it was the other way around. The leadership was at the bottom. He served the people. And I don't see that too often. And, maybe you could speak to that, because I'm a youth and I want to know, where is my leadership? Where is the support from my community? Where is the programming for the youth to step up and do something? And that makes me so upset and so mad, because we are sold this idea of success. Go to the city, get your education, fight on our behalf, learn the white man's way so that you can fight the white man's system. But you know what? We lose our identity in that process. And the system is brainwashing us into thinking that money is success. But we need to go back to our communities and reclaim our nationhood and those knowledges that our elders have about self-sustenance. And they're going to be looking to us when they're drinking their oil. they will look to us and our elders. But we need to band together, and we need to do those things. And you know, my grandfather, he had a vision of this, and you want to think about it from an economic standpoint. Well, you know, if we invested in solar power, if we had log houses, if we did those things, there's cars now, there's electric cars now. Why are we not investing in these? And in the long run, when you look at it, we actually save a lot of money from paying power bills, from paying other taxes, from all these things that we could put back into programming that would make things more transparent, so we could learn these scientific innovation technologies. We could bring Indigenous education back onto our reserves and our homeland, so that we wouldn't have to sit here and be like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on. I can't read the white man's way. We could demand those things, and those are our rights. So, you know, it's an
Okay.
outcry to my elders and to my community as a youth that we need those things. So, yeah, and you know, prayer is really, really, really peaceful. It's really powerful, and it's not passive, and I want to warn everyone against it, because lots of elders spoke about this at the camp, because everyone was haughty about this, you know. And protocol says that we pray for things. We do not act in our emotion. We do not get upset or angry. Yeah, it's good. We have these emotions, but you know what? Prayer is the thing that will get us by. And don't ever think that your prayer is not powerful, because that is what has sustained us for generations to come. During my first fast, one of my grandmothers, she sat me down. She said, you know, someone sat where you're going to sit, and they prayed for you once, and they sacrificed for you. Look at your life today. And I thought, yeah, I'm so happy, and now I get to do that for other people. Prayer is really, really powerful. And even though we can't cross physical distances at times, we can cross spiritual distances with our prayer. So I just want to remind people of that. And it's not about fighting. It's about educating each other and uniting together. That's really important. Because then we're no better than the white man. Thank you.
Good comments, ladies. Yeah, I guess what I wanted to speak a little bit to is just a little further on Aaron's point about communication, and whether it's just within ourselves or our families and communities, it's very important to be able to communicate the best way you can in a good way. And there are a lot of frustrations, because a lot of times development is looked at negatively because of the impacts that it has on our families and our communities. And so it always is a delicate balance. And a lot of times, you know, you're right in your comment that, you know, when we're developing or getting involved with corporations, it does lessen, you know, in some respects, the opportunity to exercise, you know, treaty rights sometimes. And that's a very dear issue to all of us. And that's where the communication really comes in, whether it's elders on our behalf or it's amongst each other, that there is some common understanding, whether a project is supported or not supported within a community. And I think that's very important conversation that needs to occur in a respectful way. Sometimes it's tough because it's very dear issues that have some devastating impacts. And I know up north at home, you know, we're dealing with some of those right now. They maybe not have been impacts that we agreed to, but we're feeling them all along the shores. And so that communication is very key. And I encourage you all to continue down that road. And I guess I want to give some reassurance, I guess, from myself, that I look at things very dearly and very importantly in terms of our rights as Indians and as individuals. And I put it to myself to ensure that I'm advocating, to ensure that we can hunt, fish, trap, and gather as we see fit, and to be able to pray. How it's received is not always how I would like it. So my conversations haven't always been warm and fuzzy either with industry or government for that matter. But it all comes back to being accountable. And as an individual, we need to be accountable as families, as communities, and as a human race. And I don't think that any of us can let off the pedal on that. So I want to encourage all of you to continue on in a good way. And I thank you very much again for having me here and be able to share some of my story and what I've experienced. And I'll continue to advocate for our rights and things that I've been taught and will be taught down the road as I grow older. But I want to thank all of you for being here and being able to share. And we all live as the next generation, I guess, from the teaching of our parents and our elders, and try to carry those on the best way that we know how. I'm involved in a lot of different aspects of life, from culture to business, and as I mentioned earlier, it gets tough at times, but it's got to balance the best way we're taught to. So thank you very much for your comments, and I've listened very carefully to them. So I thank you for them.
Yeah, I just want to say just a couple of words. Okay, I'm the Elders Tribunal in Muskogin, and I say to the people, be careful on the bigger picture, because the bigger picture about corporations is that it's to destroy treaty title on the reserve, and that's what they're doing. They're taking out our treaty people by the numbers, and they're pushing the drugs on the reserves. We only have 80 people, treaty people left on Muskogin, and that's why they call it genocide, because they're getting rid of us. Me, myself, as an elder, I've been told by the Department of Indian Affairs to leave the reserve a number of times. They destroyed my business. They took my taxes. So it's an all-around a bigger picture to destroy Aboriginal title on the reserve. And that's what I warn people about, and that's what they're doing to Muskogin. So I warn you, be careful.
Place in the committee, Erica and Tessa. I really want to thank our panel. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much. Okay, Dana, Aaron, and Sheldon, thank you very much. I did say a going home prayer, but I'm going to ask Erica to say a few words in closing.
I'm good. I thought he was going to say in Cree. I was going to say, I can't do that. Once again, thank you all for attending. This is a very, very tough subject, as we heard tonight. It's not black and white. I guess at the end of the day, it will become black and white. But where we're at as a society, as citizens right now, it's not so black and white. We're dealing with issues such as poverty and addictions, all sorts of the social ills that make it very tough to see the forest for the trees, so to speak. And for the people who, in the short term, we look at, how do I make a living for my family? And so they do go work at the pipelines, they do go work at the potash places, and for the first time, those people are having livelihoods. They're having their kids participate in sports. They're having their kids be able to go to school, to eat something besides no-name noodles, for supper. So it is very tough. It's not very easy to discuss all of that. And just each of us makes a difference. And you talk about the individuals, Ms. Henderson, As individuals, it's up to us to educate, communicate, decide where our integrity is, and vote accordingly in our nation's elections. And as even in our elections in the cities, for those of us who live in the cities, we talk about the inherent rights and responsibilities, the treaty rights and responsibilities. The whole reason why RITSIS is here is due to the portability of treaty. And even though we're off the reserve, our home reserve lands, we're still in treaty territory and we're still treaty people here. And so we need to recognize that. We need to eat as best as we can while we're here. That's why our people are dying, not only the diabetes, the cancer, you know, because our kids can only eat those no-name noodles that are 50 cents a package, you know, and it's so tough. And so that's where education and communication comes, because we're always needing to do the best we can with what we have at any given time, with the search for doing better. And that's for our families today as well as our families for tomorrow. So those are some of the thoughts that we had as a staff in bringing this to the communities, our nations, for our citizens, because a lot of us are citizens not only on our home nations, but we're citizens in cities and towns as well. So we have that collective and individual responsibility in making that difference wherever we're at. So with that, I think we only ended up with enough for, enough, we had 4 door prizes. And we have 4 people left. So, we'll right now have the presentations to our speakers. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. Corey, how many people have we reached already? And where's our farthest viewer? New York right now. Texas. So there we go. We're seeing already the people that we're educating and communicating with. So we would like to offer you to wear this with pride. And this is, we went the same size across, but trade it in. That's what Tessa says. So thank you very much. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to thank our moderator, Vern, who has been, oh yes, and there, sorry. Vern,
right.
who is always there to help us. And thank you for the prayer, Vern, and thank you for always being such a wonderful supporter of our initiatives. And safe travels home and traveling mercies for everybody.
Great group to work with. Thank you.
Here to implement the First Nations Election Act for a 4-year term. And they got it. So I never voted. I